How good are these multicolored legends from Final Fantasy for Commander? Let's take a look. Hello everybody and welcome back into the fort. My name is Tyler Saves Ya Bucks and I am here to talk about Final Fantasy Magic cards. That's right, New Universes Beyond. Whether you love the series or you don't, some of these cards are going to be seen in Commander, and that's kind of what I'm doing today. I'm taking a look at some of the brand new spoiled, I guess not spoiled, they were revealed multicolored legends and kind of guessing how popular they're going to be as commanders in our format. When it comes to me with Final Fantasy, I love a lot of the games from the series. Final Fantasy 7 up through 10 mean a lot to me because I would watch my brothers play those games. I was younger, so I would watch Jim and Brandon play through them, sitting right in front of the TV. I couldn't be any closer. And so the whole world and that type of theming and everything is just so ingrained into my head. So I might not remember everything about those games because I was, younger and I didn't actually get to play them myself. But I do, a lot of these characters and visuals are just burned into my brain. So I am excited to get back into the worlds of Final Fantasy. So let's get into the list right now. We have a lot of flip cards this time around. So let's take a look at Terra. This is one red and a green. When it enters, you mill 5 cards. You can return an enchantment to your hand that way. And then for 8 mana and tap it, exile Terra, and then return it transformed. It comes in as a saga. So we have a lot of saga creatures coming into the format this way. Esper Terra, but we'll see. There is a little call to Magic Esper in there. You create token copies of non-legendary enchantments you control, which is very nice for those 3 chapters. And then also if you bring a saga back, you can kind of choose what you would like to put the, not bring it back, but if you make one, you get to choose where you would like to put it in the chapters, which is really interesting. And it's also interesting because the final chapters, you basically make 2 Wooburg. Those first 3 are Esper colors, by the way. And then you return it to the battlefield on the front face. I think this is going to be a popular commander because if I'm not mistaken, that is a Wooburg commander. So this is kind of a new take on Wooburg, say Enchantress or Sagas. I think this is going to be very, very popular, and we'll see it across the table quite a lot. And I do like the little magic call they did with white, blue, and black being the first colors they show in Wooburg for this, because Esper Terra, it makes a bit of sense. Moving along, we have Kefka, one of the big villains from the series. 5 mana. When it enters or attacks, each player discards a card, and then you draw a card for each card type among cards discarded this way. Okay, and then 8 mana, each player sacrifices, or each opponent sacrifices a permanent of their choice. Then you transform it into a 5/7 flying avatar wizard. Whenever an opponent loses life during your turn, you draw that many cards. So this was one that I was a bit excited for, and I still think it's really good. It's just in Commander, we don't often like seeing the discard synergies across the table. So I don't know how often this will be played, but that other side is so cool. Whenever an opponent loses life, you draw that many cards. I wish I could build more around that effect, but the fact that you have to pay 8 mana just to get it there, I'm not sure if we'll see this the most, but I think it's just a beloved villain. People will be building it, so just be on the lookout. You might have to discard some cards here and there. Next up, we have Kuja, which for me, it holds a good place in my heart. I wouldn't say a good place, a scary place in my heart. This is the villain from, I was about to say episode 9, not like Star Wars, the Final Fantasy 9. And this villain scared me a lot, even though it was very pixelized and everything. This villain, for some reason, gave me the creeps. And I will be writing an article for EDH Rec about this card. Let's get into it. 4 mana. At the beginning of your end step, create an 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then, if you control 4 or more wizards, transform Kuja And then it's a 4/6 with Flame Star. Sorry, you'll see some of the cards are a little blurry because we don't have the greatest captures of them quite yet. I'm doing this really soon after the reveal panel. So, but it says if a wizard you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. I do think this will be popular. It's a little bit of a build around because you don't have that blue, because wizards are almost always blue in one way or another. But the fact that you're making those 0/1 wizards that will ping people, if you have one out and this Kuja gets flipped, now it's dealing 2 damage anytime you cast a non-creature. Very, very good. But if you have several of them out, you cast a non-creature and they're dealing double. It's going to be interesting. Be sure to check out my article when that comes. Next up, Emperor of Palamecia. This is a kind of a mana dork for non-creature spells. 2 mana, and you can tap it for a blue or a red. Spend it only on a non-creature spell. When you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, put a 1/1 counter on it. And then if it has 3 or more, you transform it. And then this has an ability when it attacks after it's transformed. It deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of non-creature, non-land cards in your graveyard. I think this will be relatively popular in Commander. The fact that it flips from being a mana source into kind of a late game, I guess, closer is good. I just don't know if people will gravitate completely towards this, but I do think if you put this in the front of an instant sorcery, even an artifact, enchantment deck, whatever, it will do work. I just don't know if it's as flashy as some of the other ones we'll be talking about. Ultimecia, I believe is how that's pronounced. 5 mana when it attacks or enters or attacks, surveil 2. And then at the beginning of your end step, you may pay, what is that? That's 8 mana. Okay. And exile 8 cards from your graveyard if you do transform it. Menace, and when it transforms, take an extra turn after this one. So this card's pretty good. It's a little bit of a graveyard filler. The fact that you have to spend all that mana to transform it and get an extra turn, it's telegraphed. It's expensive to do. I'm not sure how great this will be in Commander. Not necessarily how great, I'll put it this way. All of these cards, how great they'll be in Commander. It's more so how often people will build around it. I don't know how often people will build around this, because you have to assume you're going to want to go off of the surveil, mainly because everything else is kind of up in the air if you'll be able to hit it. But I think this is really cool. I really do. And the fact that it has an extra turn attached to it, even though it's a little telegraphed, I think is pretty cool if you ask me. Flying through the rest of these, we have Yuna, which is 5 mana. I think this one will be a huge card in Commander. During your turn, Yuna and enchantment creatures you control have trample, lifelink, and ward 2. Very strong. And then at the beginning of your end step, return up to 1 target enchantment from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. It's Selesnya enchantments. I think people are going to dig this card, and the art and everything, super cool. Lightning, army of 1, first strike, trample, lifelink. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player until your next turn, if a source would deal damage to that player or permanent that player controls, it deals double that damage. So if you hit a player with lightning, now everything is doubled to that person. I think this will be also popular in Commander because people like to kind of get their other players at the table, and this allows you to do that. Plus, it has a lot of good keywords. We have next up Absolute Virtue. This gives you protection from each of your opponents. Now, and also it can't be countered, 8/8 flying. It's telegraphed. It's one of the most telegraphed things we've talked about today. The fact that it's in your, this is your commander, it's in your command zone. It's like, all right, once I hit this, you guys can't really do anything, and it's going to make, for me, a lot of the table want to attack you. But I think it's a cool build around giving you protection. They can't hit you. They can't target you. Really, really a cool design. So we'll see where it goes. I don't know how popular it will be. Vivi, I love Final Fantasy IX, and this is a beloved character in general. 3 mana, 0 to add X mana of any combination of blue and or red, where X is Vivi's power. Activate only during your turn and only once each turn. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on Vivi, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. This is going to be very popular. I think the fact that everyone already loves this character, not everyone, but a lot of people love instant sorceries, non-creature decks, all of that. It's pretty low to the ground, being 3 mana and kind of a mana dork. It's going to be interesting. I suggest that when you pick up one of these, start brewing right away, because there's a lot of different ways to take it. Like I was just thinking then, you could do like equipment and that type of thing with it, because load it up, get more power to Vivi, and then be able to cast more things with the mana it makes. Squall. I loved Final Fantasy VIII, but again, I was just a kid watching my brother. I think Brandon mainly played this one. The gun swords, one of the coolest things to me as a kid. This is kind of a exalted commander, being in Orzhov for 4 mana. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains a double strike. And then whenever it deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This one I also think could be an equipment commander. You could get equipments back. You can load up Squall to deal even more damage. But also at the end of the day, you could just get a fetch land that you cracked earlier in the game back onto the field, since it's a permanent. Noctis, Prince of Lucis. See, this is why I haven't been saying the second half of some of these names. It is 1 and Esper, 4/3 with lifelink. You may cast artifact spells from your graveyard by paying 3 life in addition to paying their other costs. If you cast a spell this way, that artifact enters with a finality counter on it. This will be popular. End of story. Moving on to Belethir and Fran. 1 and Gruul for reach, 4/3. Vehicles you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance and reach. And then whenever a vehicle crewed with them attacks, if it's the first combat, you may pay their mana cost again. And if you do, there is an additional combat phase after that. So I think this will be popular as well. It'll be good for standard, since we have all those vehicles from the past sets, especially Ether Drift. But I think people will still build around these two and put them in the command zone for a vehicle deck. Renoya, Heart Lily. I believe that's how it's said. 5 mana enters. You create a legendary 1/1 green and white dog creature token, which is very adorable, that token. And then whenever she attacks, another target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature you control. I don't know how popular this will be in Commander. But people will like the dog. Yeah, but I don't know how popular it'll be in Commander. I still think people will brew around it, but probably not as much. And then we have Sid, Timeless Artificer. I'm not going to show all the different arts, but Sid, that name and that kind of character archetype has been in most Final Fantasy games. I think the first one Sid wasn't in. I think so. So they're doing a new card art for every single version of the character, and I think that is a cool take on this. 4 mana. It says artifact creatures and heroes you control get +1/+1 for each artifact. Artificer you control on each Artificer card in your graveyard. A deck can have any number of cards named Sid, Timeless Artificer, and has cycling for 2. I think the fact that you can have all of the versions of Sid and there's a different art for every single one, I think this will be played a lot in Commander. Should it be? I'm not necessarily sure, but I think people will take it as a challenge, and I think it's such a good, elegant design to give it cycling just in case you need to just get rid of it. and get another card if you have far too many of them. And remember, this is a standard legal set, so they had to think about draft and other limited type formats that people would be playing. So I think it's a great design. People definitely will play it, and I'll be interested to see the decks people make with it. So there you have it, some of the multicolored legends from the Final Fantasy set coming our way in June, I believe. So what do you guys think about these new legends? Are you going to build around any of them specifically? Are you excited for this set? Are you not excited for this set? If you liked this type of kind of free flowy format, just looking at some of these legends, let me know in the comments too. I could possibly do some of the monocolored legends that was revealed over this weekend. Overall, I am excited for this set. You're going to be seeing a lot more content from my channel, from EDH Rec, centered around Final Fantasy. So strap on in and jump on your chocobo, because we're about to be off to the races for this new Universes Beyond set. But for real, I am excited for this. It's taking me back to the days of seeing all those games and having my imagination run wild in that universe, even reading the booklets and seeing how tall characters were and when their birthdays was. So I hope you guys are ready for more Final Fantasy content, because you will be getting it here in the fort. I will see you next time. Goodbye.